Hey everyone, it's Tommy from Unsung Heroes, and I received a lot of really good feedback from the first interview with Josh Lytle from Family Care Ministries. So here's part two of that interview. I hope you guys enjoy it. There's a ton of really good information on there and a ton of really good stories in there. And my goal is to keep finding these heroes. I like to call them. They're heroes. Let's face it, they're doing incredible, extraordinary things in society. So my goal is to keep finding them and keep spreading the light, man. Let's spread the light, spread the love, whatever you want to call it. It's way better than news, you know what I mean? Bad news. Let's show everybody that there's good people out here, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep finding these people that are doing extraordinary things, and we're going to keep spreading the light. That's my goal. Please like and subscribe. That'll help me so much. Some of these videos, man, it's you spend all day, sometimes 2 days on a video, it's a lot of work, and it's for free. So when you guys like and subscribe, that definitely helps out. So if you would please help me spread the light. Thank you. Love you guys.
How many people can you have here at one time? How many people do you treat?
I think we had like 14 beds here, and then that's just in the student dorm. But then there was beds in the nursery, beds in staff rooms, and like the people that are in transition. So probably total, if we maxed out, probably like 35 people total between the two centers, the men and the women's center. The goal has always been, when we got this, I didn't plan on having a men's center, right? So we had girls here, and there was a bunch of reasons why we made that decision, but and it was going really good, and we were packed out and doing well. And I worked with a federal judge's nephew that was struggling with drugs and stuff, and he turned his life around. It's one of them situations we just talked about where he didn't have anywhere to go that would have been a good environment with the family. You know, there was alcohol. That was a struggle, and so we needed somewhere to go. And they're like, "What do we do?" Said, well, so I had a pretty big office space. So I scrapped the offices and I made living rooms and put showers off rooms and made little studio apartments and a big dorm, and made it a men's center. So that's how we started. And so now we have that center too downtown, which allows us to bring a lot more people. And so,
Wow.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've heard people say, "Oh, I would go to rehab, but I can't afford it."
Right.
Because you listen to these, Hollywood, and an actor or actress goes through rehab, and it's tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. I know people that for 30 days have paid, their insurance is paid like 60 grand for 28-day rehab.
Wow.
It's insane, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're doing this for free.
For free, man. Yeah. We've honestly trusted God. Every outpatient appointment, every time we go to a school, respond to the police, housing here. You get 30 people, grown adults. Just the hygiene alone, right? Is a lot. The water,
right?
The shower times, and the upkeep and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, on paper it does not make sense. And every year when we do our yearly budget with our board of directors, it's just, I'm looking at this paperwork and I'm like, it don't add up. There's no way that we can do this, and the staff that we have, and just not possible. You know what I mean? But every year, God's made, we've never missed a meal here, and everything we do is prayed in here, literally. Like the van outside, we needed a big van. We had too many people. We couldn't transport them all without like six vehicles, so we needed a big van, and laid in this room and just prayed. It's like, Lord, you're a provider. That's what your word says, and I'm going to choose to believe that. And we need help. And the next week, somebody walked in here on a Sunday night. We have chapel service. Walked in here and said, "Hey, I just want to give. I felt like the Lord put on my, and I can, I'm able, and I want to." Wrote a check for that van. Was able to get it that week.
Wow.
And that's literally how we've seen this thing work for years and years and years. I'm a firm believer if God brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. He'll help you do what you need to do. So,
Yeah,
haven't had to charge anyone.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
And going back to struggles, like I think that's what makes the difference in people. And I've been on this journey of, I don't know what you want to call it,
Right.
trying to become a better person,
Right.
trying to figure out what makes other people better people.
Yeah.
And one thing I can say that always is there is how they deal with the struggle.
Right.
So like we all struggle on a daily basis,
Yeah.
some things more than others. And I think it's how we deal with that struggle
Yeah.
that that's really what makes a difference in us.
Yeah.
Because you could have just gave up.
Yeah. Many times. There's not trying to preach at you, but there's two scriptures that I've held on to when it comes to struggle. One in James, one says, count it all joy when, not if, but when you fall into various trials, and it says, because of those trials, your faith is tested. And when your faith is tested, it begins to perfect you and make you who you're supposed to be. The picture that I put in my mind when I read that is, I love being on a mountaintop, a great view, but there's nothing up there. Ice, snow, rock. There's no life, and you go down to the valley, there's danger. There's snakes, there's bears, there's floods, but there's life, and there's flowers, and there's greenery, and there's butterflies, and there's all these different things. So the valley is tough. Struggles are hard, but that's where real growth happens. Another one I've held to is Galatians 6:9, man, and it tells me to don't get tired of doing good. Don't get weary in doing good. It says, in just the right time. I love that because that's usually not my time. That's God's time. But at just the right time, you'll reap a harvest if you don't grow weary. And so that harvest might look different for everybody, but for me, to see all the families and see this community and see all the statistics of change, and that's the harvest for me. It's not about money or anything like that. It's I could charge. I mean, I could be pretty wealthy if I charged everyone that I worked with, and nobody would bat an eye at it. But
not at all.
That's not the harvest for me. All right, the harvest is God provides what I need when I need it. He's never come up short. But to see all these people that are changing in their families, and it's amazing, man.
Yeah, and that goes back to whenever you don't feel good, whenever you wake up and you're having a bad day,
right,
and you're sore, or you have the flu, or whatever that is, and you say, you know what, I still have to go help this guy.
Yeah,
I made a commitment, and I'm going to do that, and that's a rare trait today, because most people would just say, you know what, I'm not going to do that today.
Yeah,
I don't feel like it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And the people that do that are the people that are making the difference in the world. I think, they're pushing through that adversity.
Yeah.
And doing what they're passionate about.
Right.
And maybe they're not even passionate about it. Maybe they just want to help.
Right.
Like, hey, this guy needs help. They're passionate about helping.
Yeah. I agree.
Whatever that is.
I agree.
I don't know. You could go on forever about, what it is that drives us, our passion.
Yeah.
But I think all of us, there's something deep down that, there's something else.
Yeah.
You're thinking, man, I'm not supposed to be sitting here in this cubicle for 12 hours,
right,
or I'm not supposed to be digging a ditch today, or whatever that is. There's something that's drawing me to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you find that, life changes. But I don't know very many people, if any. I'm sure there's some that didn't take trust and faith and going through the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, man. There was days where my kids didn't have formula, and I was working 14 hours a day, going with the police, counseling, going to schools, busting my butt. You know what I mean, to try to help as many people as I could. And there was no compensation, and my kids were hungry, and I didn't have any formula. And there was days where I was like, I'm gonna walk in here and just have to take it. Like, I don't know what else to do. And I'm in the car battling, like, swallow my pride. Do I go ask for help? I'm a man, right? I'm battling all that. But yeah, I think that struggle and going through those experiences and having to have faith and trust, and God always showed me that he was with me. Even that time that I didn't have formula. I remember I went home that day after struggling. What am I going to do? I'm crying in the parking lot of Giant Eagle, and I get home and there's a box on my steps. I didn't tell anybody. It's just, I was having trouble swallowing my pride at that moment. Like, I need help, guys. Because I had people getting in my face saying, you got to get a real job. You got to be a man. You're not providing for your family. And I'm like, I'm doing what God's called me to do. I even had family members say that. So it wasn't all just rosy and peaches and miracles. There was things that I had to really trust God in. And I got home one day and there was a box with like 8 of the biggest cans of formula that you can buy. They're like $80 some each on my steps.
Wow.
And man, I fell on my knees and cried on that porch for like an hour, man. Just, Lord, I'm over here doubting and struggling, and questioning because it's hard, but you see me. And his word says he bottles every tear and he keeps them. He remembers them. He knows what I'm going through better than anyone else. And so, yeah, I don't know anybody that doesn't have to step out in faith and trust to make that change. A lot of times we get really comfortable in our positions, even though we're not fulfilled in it, right? It's comfortable there because I know what I'm going to make. Yeah. And I know the bills that I have. And I know, like, if I don't stay in this, there's some unknowns. And we get a little bit scared of the unknowns. Me too, man. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I have the same thing. I quit my job about almost 4 months ago to do this.
Yeah.
And, I have a little marketing business and stuff, but this is really what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I have family members that think I have lost my mind. I mean,
right.
They're like, you quit a good job to go and do something that you don't even know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
And, but I have a thought in my mind.
Yeah.
I have a vision that we can get good news out there. Like, man, there's so much bad news. You can turn on a TV, which we don't watch any news.
Right.
And I do that on purpose because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear all that bad news. I want to try to keep good things and I want to spread good things.
Yeah.
And I want to show that even in small towns where people think there's no hope, there's hope. There's somebody there that'll help you if you just ask for help.
Yeah.
It might not be the first time. You might have to ask a couple times.
Right.
But there is help there. Somebody knows something to do.
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. It's asking for help. Especially men. I'm not saying only men, but especially men. We're in this culture that like asking for help is weakness. And that's what I thought. And still as a man, sometimes that's my first response. And I got to be like, well, hold on. And no, it's wisdom to ask for help. It's wisdom to get somebody to be able to encourage me and use their giftings. You know what I mean? It's wisdom to be able to ask so you can get better. It's not weakness to ask for help. And so, yeah, there's definitely help and there's hope out there. I think what you just said, that's the burden. A burden for me was seeing something that like it didn't sit right with me and wanting to do something about it. There's so much bad news. That's the burden.
Mm-hmm.
I saw there's so many people out there hurting without nobody to go to their house that doesn't want to be the name, doesn't want to be the main man or wants to be the center of attention. Like, where's the guy that's going to go in the houses and alleys and spend hours and hours a day with never getting recognition or being able to say because of confidence, never like that was the burden, and that's what allowed me to come here. It wasn't anything else, it was that burden. So pretty awesome when you meet somebody else that it doesn't matter what it is that was not okay with something. And because of it, they made a decision, to do something about it. That's a difference maker.
Yeah.
That's what, to me, that's what a difference maker does.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of my burden is I see kids in these small communities and their parents are telling them, well, this is what you were dealt.
Right.
Right. We can't help it. We were born here.
Yeah.
This is a small community. We don't have money, so these kids, they don't think there's a way out, man.
Yeah.
They just think they're this is the cards they were dealt. That's what you have. And it's not true.
No, it's not.
You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, again, going back to limits of, we're not going to be NBA players.
Right. Right.
You know,
yeah.
But you can find something within your ability, and take that, you know, use that passion that you have and make that become something.
Absolutely, man. You definitely can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids are a soft spot. I mean, I do a lot of school assemblies, and every time I get done doing an assembly, I usually have a line of kids. Battling what you just said, you know, but this is what I grew up in. This is my normal. This is this is our last name. This is the reputation we have with this name. So we might as well just do it too. You know, and you're able to counter that with a lot of kids. Let them know, no, I mean, even though you're growing up in that's the lens that you look at life through. You can change that lens, and you can be somebody different and come out different, you know, and it's beautiful to see them when they get that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it really is.
I always remember, I don't know if you've ever listened to Les Brown, but
not much. I've heard of it.
He has a saying where he says, never let somebody's opinion of you become your reality.
Yeah.
You know, and that says it all right there, man.
Yeah.
Like, people can say whatever they want. You just can't let it. You can't let it get to you.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's hard. It's hard because sometimes we care. We want people to appreciate us and like us. But what I teach here is, if you know who you are, you'll know what to do. And who I am isn't determined by anybody else. It's determined by, you know, first of all, the Lord, you know, but and then I do a big deep check of myself, and I found out this is what I'm good at, even though it's different than other people, even though I do this different than other people, it's all right. And when I know who I am, I'll know what to do. That's my testimony. The reason why I did it wasn't anybody else's fault, but I let other people dictate what was cool, what wasn't cool, what was going to make me accepted, what wasn't going to make me accepted. And everybody had a different opinion. So I was a chameleon. When I was at church, I was churchy. When I was at the bar, I was like a bar guy. You know, when I was in the streets of Pittsburgh doing drugs, I dressed and acted like that. You know, I was a chameleon and had no idea who I was. So when I really did what you're saying, and I know who I was, and quit thinking about what anybody else said, I knew what to do at that point. Changed my life for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, man.
And I think there's so many people that, you know, you call it a chameleon. That's a really cool way to put that. You know, it's kind of like you were invisible because it didn't matter where you were at. You just kind of blended in.
Molded to their opinion of what I needed to do.
And I think so many, especially kids, man, they think they have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, they see this cool guy, you know, he's popular or whatever, and he's smoking some weed or whatever it is, and you think you have to do that to be a cool person.
Yeah.
And really, man, all you have to do is be yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you can just be yourself. You don't have to be anybody. Like you were saying earlier, you know, people say they want to be like you, and you tell them, no, don't be like me.
Don't need another me.
Then you're not going to be who you are.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they take a different path and they help people in a different way.
Yeah.
But if they try to be like you, you know, it's not going to work out because that's not what they're meant to do. I think we all have, I think that's our purpose in life, is to find what our passion is. Like that's our whole job, as a human, is to find, what our passion is. And I think it should be helping people.
Yeah.
However that is, whatever way that is. But man, to help somebody get through adversities, it's a beautiful thing.
I tell them here all the time, every single human that I've ever met in life, they have giftings and talents and a calling that is to build the group, the body up. All right. So like everyone, you know, and if you're trying to operate in my callings, then you're not doing what you're gifted and called to do. It might be similar. I tell them I don't need a second-rate version of me. I need a first-rate version of you. And you know, if we can be, I guess, secure enough. You know, I know a lot of guys that won't let other people be who they are. it's almost a form of rejection, like trying to control them.
Mhm.
Or to me, the biggest compliment I could have is someone that I've helped does 10 times more than I ever thought about doing. I'll be the biggest cheerleader in the corner. Go get it. Like, that's what I want, but sometimes if we're not secure like that, and there's been many people in my life that have been leaders that didn't want me to do anything more, because it was maybe they're going to like him more, a threat to it. So I think when we're secure in who we are, we want to cheer people on to do. And if they do it better than us, great.
Yeah.
Maybe I spoke one thing that helped them get there, and it should make me feel good. I support you, man.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And there are a lot of people like that, that they don't want you to succeed.
Oh, man.
They don't want you to be a better person than them.
Yeah.
Because whatever position they're in, they're getting some recognition. They're getting, they're popular or whatever that is. So when you start creeping up on them, they're like, whoa, you're taking over my spot.
Man, I've had people trash me publicly. I was on the news a couple times. I've had people trash me on there, on Facebook, not even for anything other than helping people, And I did a news article one time, and they said I was an crisis intervention specialist. I've never said that, and I can't even spell that, right? So they put that title on me just because the news needed a title.
Yeah,
man, I had people who made you a specialist, and I was like, man, if y'all knew me, I'm just pretty laid back and humble. You know what I mean? I'm not out here I don't even like titles. I don't even let anybody call me anything but Josh. Just because I'm not a title guy. I'm like, but why are you like? Even if I was, why are you so mad about that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I honestly, I think that comes from not knowing who they are and being insecure, and that's why when we really can find that, and then we're going to be each other's biggest supporters. Then you see a community thrive.
I love that. You were just saying you don't like titles, because I've always, I won't say always, but the last 10, 15 years, like, I think a giant problem in humanity is the labels and the titles.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm a Republican, I'm a Catholic, everyone wants to put this label or title on. And then somebody else that has that opposite title, now they think they can't get along with that person.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Republican, I'm a Democrat. We're enemies now,
Right.
Man, and I just look at everybody like, you're just a human.
Yeah.
We're all humans. None of us are, we're all different, but we're all the same.
Yeah. First book I wrote, about to put out a second one, but like the first book I wrote, I had a whole chapter on that of like, there should be no pedestals. Like, I can honor and respect somebody, but the ground's level. All right. We're all right here. And if I keep that mindset, the ground's level, I don't care if you're Billy Graham, right? Who had flawless, like a lot of people that are in the even in ministry, like have been caught, a scandal came out or something. That guy has nothing anybody ever said bad about him. I mean, he lived it right to the T, man. But I used to feel like I was never going to be like him, and so I was timid and I wouldn't do what my giftings and callings well. And even the guy that helped me, I used to think like, man, am I doing it like him? And I'd always feel like I was coming up short. And when I finally started saying, you know what, he had to start somewhere too. And he might have been doing it for a little bit longer, but the ground's still level. It really helped me to not only treat people different, but look at myself different. Like, okay, it's he's not better, he's not worse than. You never lock eyes with somebody. I teach them here, put a 10 on everybody's forehead. Right? Like, we should look at everybody with worth and value, and there's nobody that's any less than, better than. Might have a difference of opinion. That doesn't make them less valuable. Mm-hmm. And what I do in the church, that's even a big thing. Like, you have a lot of pastors that you have a community that's dying. Like, we believe if I'm doing what I'm doing and I'm faith-based, I believe that we have an answer. But if we can't even get along, it's 250 churches in a 30-mile radius, then what's that say? Because, well, my belief, my brand is better than your brand, or yours is less than my brand. And so, I believe if we could get that ground level mentality, everybody's ground level at the foot of the cross, then we would be way better. There'd be a unity, and there'd be a sense of community.
Yeah.
It's always this me versus you mentality, and it doesn't get us anywhere.
No, and what people don't understand is they they see somebody that's doing good,
Right.
wherever they're at in your position here, you're doing a ton of good things. You didn't just fall into this.
No.
No, someone didn't just say, "Oh, here you go,
Right.
Josh. You're,
Yeah.
here's this great life of helping people and
Right.
doing good things."
Right.
Like you paid,
Yeah.
you paid for this
Yeah.
dearly.
Yeah. Still, there's a lot.
Still,
There's a lot of sacrifice and selflessness, and there's it's tough. It's not easy to care about people. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of letdown. It takes a lot of hurt. I mean, you see the best in these people. You see who they can be, and a lot of times they don't receive it right away. And so there's a lot of funerals that I've done, and there's a lot of broken families that had a little bit of hope and then got chopped out. And so those are my phone calls are more crisis, someone's dying phone calls that I ever get a good phone call. And that's 2 in the morning, 9 at night. I'm on call from the police and everybody else all the time. So most of the time if my phone rings, it's so you have to come now. Someone's dying or overdosed or this family needs help. So um, not always easy, right? But
yeah,
it's worth it. That's why I said earlier, looking at that little girl who isn't in that house where someone just passed away that I'm responding to, and you see her and she had a little snack and her mom's healthy and change. You just change generationally what's happened in that family, their whole life. Um, that's what you have to choose to focus on. Um, and then it makes it all worth it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But I'll be honest, probably what's hurt me and what's helped me more than anything has been what we just talked about, community or lack of. Sometimes it can really get lonely and you're looking for that guy that's willing to be emotional and be like, bro, you okay? Like, I just spent some time talking to you, and if you're going to cry, I'll cry with you. If you're going to laugh, I'll laugh with you. And you need that. And I have a few, not many, maybe one or two um, in the last 8 to 10 years that have been those people for me. And it's made all the difference. I really attribute those few moments of them caring and sitting down when they didn't have to giving me the strength and the motivation and not to not walk away.
wow,
Yeah, community is huge. And they have a different denomination. They have a different approach than me, but they didn't care about any of that. They just said, man, I care about you and what you're doing. And I want to make sure you know that we're behind you and we support you and whatever that looks like. So, yeah, that community and caring about others, it's not just for others. Like, I need it too. And you need it too. Leaders need it too. Dads need to hear it from their kids and wives every once in a while. And everyone.
yeah.
Community is huge, man.
And I try to get that out. I try to make my wife and son feel like, man, I always think about if something would happen to me, if we would get in a fight or have an argument and then something would happen to me, and that's the last thing I said to them. It's just, I think about that all the time. So, every time we get off the phone or every time we see each other, I'm hugging them and telling them I love them. And, that's hard for some guys because they weren't brought up like that, especially our age. Sometimes dads back then, it was a different thing.
Right.
So now, it's tough for guys to tell their friend that they love them or even their wife. A lot of guys, they just tell, they again, that's going back to, they think it's going to make them weak. But really, that's what makes us strong. Is,
Absolutely.
Because we're not afraid to say how we feel or to do the things that we know we need to do. To make that better life.
Yeah. Right. It's funny in like when I do marriage counseling and stuff. So I always ask the guy what's wrong first, because it's about 2 minutes, and he's like, I thought everything was good. I don't know. I think pretty good from where I sit. And then you're like, all right, cool, lady, and she goes and she's crying and then she's mad and then she's laughing and she shows all these emotions, and it's colorful and she's detailed. She knows every little thing that's happened the last 4 years. You know what I mean? And they get it out there. And I think it's funny, just the difference. It's not that the man hasn't experienced all that either, but we've been wired and told that, like, if you show emotion, it's got to be strong and tough, and if you cry, it's weak, and people are going to look at you as soft. And so one of the most beautiful things I do, especially with men, is teach emotional intelligence. And like, you're just as emotional as her. Like God's made us that way, but you just show it different.
Mm-hmm.
Even guys in church, when I go travel and speak, the ladies are crying, they're getting emotional, they're like supporting each other and hugging, and the men stand there like bouncers at a bar with their arms crossed, like they won't sing too loud, they won't get too expressive, and I'm like, it's not how we're supposed to be. You know what I mean? God gave us emotions to bring color to our life and help us have strong relationships and, have a relationship with Him. We should be able to express anger and fear and sadness, and it's all right, and that helps our kids be able to express it. And that helps our wives open up to us and be able to have a better relationship there. So, yeah, you're right, man. I was that guy. You don't dare cry ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And now I'm a big baby. I cry all the time now, man. So, yeah, not
Yeah.
afraid of that at all.
I remember, I don't know, it's been a while ago, but I don't even remember the situation, but this guy, we were talking about crying, and I was like, he asked when the last time I cried, and I was like, I don't know.
Right.
I said, well, the way I grew up, you only cry if like your foot's caught in a bear trap or something.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, there better be bone and blood before you cry, man.
Yeah. It just, and man, we're just conditioning.
Yeah.
It's where we grow up. It's who our parents are, who our peers are, all these things. We hear that, and when you're a child, I think it's 7 years old. They say up to 7 years old, all you do is absorb.
Yeah.
So you're hearing all these things. Money doesn't grow on trees, and you're growing up poor. We don't have the money for that.
Yeah.
Guys don't cry.
Yeah.
You're hearing all these things, and you suck that in as a child, and that's what you become.
Literally becomes your core beliefs, man. And your core beliefs drive every single thing that you do and crave. So in counseling, a lot of times, like I had this core belief that I'm shy, right? So we moved a lot, like I said, and I would always have to go to these churches with my dad being a preacher, and all these old women want to pinch my cheeks, and, oh, you're so cute. And I'm dressed in my little nice suit like a preacher's kid, you know what I'm saying? And I hated it, man. Oh my gosh, I hated it. So instead of dealing with it, I'd like pull my mom's dress up and hide. And so my mom would get embarrassed. So what was their response when you're visiting somewhere and it's awkward? I'm hiding, and they're like looking at him. So they'd be like, oh, he's shy. Don't mind him. He's not being mean. He's shy. Mm-hmm. So I heard it, and I heard it, and I heard it, and I heard it. And so like I started to have this core belief, I'm shy. And when I say a core belief, it's like a tabletop that holds that belief up, and you have legs that support it. So I heard my mom say it. I heard my dad say it. I got nervous to go out on that wrestling mat the first time, so I must be shy. Well, no one said it's just nerves. Like you're ready to go out and compete. That's normal. No, you're shy. Mm-hmm. So I had this core belief. I go to college. I had to get up and read a paper in front of my English class. I wouldn't do it. And she's like, if you don't do this, you fail. So I literally laid the paper on her desk, walked out of college, and never went back. Because of the belief that I'm shy and I don't get in front of people and talk. I dropped out of college. I literally just never went back, man, ever.
Wow.
And so that really like hindered my life. But I heard it. I received it. I believed it, right? To the point where when I felt like God called me to do what I'm doing now, right? And I travel and speak all over the place, and in front of thousands or in front of 3 before. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me, but I really fought it, and I was like, that can't be what I'm supposed to do, and I'm not good at it. I'm shy, and I can't. And I remember the first time my leader asked me to do it, like I'm physically throwing up, like I'm sick, like I can't do this. What if I stutter? What if I'm shy? I don't. And I finally got up and did it. And I remember my leader sat down with me. He's like, who told you that you're shy? Like, take your personality test. You're a people person. You speak the language of people and fun, and like, what are you talking about? And so now it's funny because what I do now, right, is absolutely every single week, several times a week, I travel and I speak, at Cavelli centers, at national stages before, at Rotaries, at schools. I mean, literally, and I'm not saying I don't get nervous and scared to death, you know what I mean? But I had to break down that core belief from what I heard for so many years that you're shy. So men don't cry. That's one. And you have to practice it. You have to practice responding and talking about your emotions. So many men in counseling, what I do is I say 3 times a day, you have to check in and you have to write how you're feeling, what emotion, specify it, why you're feeling it, and what it means. And it's almost impossible for them to do it, man, because they just have never done it. Like,
Right.
you ask a man, how you doing? Good.
Fine.
But what are you feeling? I feel fine.
Mhm.
But what emotion? And they literally almost always cannot tell you. It takes practice, but once you get it, man, every relationship in your life gets better.
Yeah.
Everyone. Like, everyone.
And, they act like these things are a condition,
Right.
when you're shy.
Right.
Or, that's like a condition. Oh,
Yeah.
he's shy. Just,
Right.
it's okay. Just let him sit in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
When really you want to get out.
Yeah.
You want to have your words out and,
Right.
and say what you're feeling. You're just afraid.
Right.
Because
Scared to
nobody
death.
told you it was okay. Everyone
agree.
said, "Oh, he's shy. Just leave him alone."
Yeah. I agree, man. One of my good friends, he graduated here, worked here. He was brought up that way. He's probably, I think he's like 50. He came in here when he was in his 40s. And man, he would sit and like he would fight at me. You'd almost see him like in pain, fighting like tears when we were talking about a topic or like praying for him or just talking heart to heart as friends, you know what I mean? And took him years before he finally was like, thank you, man. Like, I wouldn't be here without you. You know what I mean? And he struggled and cried, and like ran out right after he said, like, dipped out. But he practiced it enough, and now he's still a man, still manly, right? He's still a tough guy. You know what I'm saying? But he's not afraid now. And man, he got his kids back. He got his family back. He makes an impact in this room to other men now, where before he was standing like the bouncer, you know what I mean? And now he's putting his arm around him. Hey, man, I believe in you. I'm proud of you. And his whole life has transformed for the better. And he's got genuine relationships where before he was an alcoholic, he was lonely. Mm-hmm. And he only had one emotion, anger, tough guy, And so now his reputation is way different. But yeah, you got to practice being emotional. You got to practice expressing it and knowing that it's okay.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
When you're conditioned your whole life to just keep it all in.
Yeah.
Just push that all down. Don't let it out. Don't let anybody know you're hurting or whatever that is. You're struggling with whatever problem that is.
Yeah.
We're just conditioned to it.
Yeah. On the flip side, a lot of times I have to teach a lot of ladies how to not like make everybody an emotional dumping ground. You know what I mean? Where like not everybody needs to hear every little detail, so you can express it, but let's put a 15 minutes. We're gonna share, and then we're gonna be okay. We're gonna move on and do something about it instead of just getting wrapped up in those emotions. So it's crazy how we're wired different, but both can be an extreme. But if you work on both, I mean, you really. My relationship with my wife, once I really learned her temperament and learned like how she is, instead of fighting against that, we used to argue a lot about our differences that I never seen when we were dating. But now that we've been married for a while, you know what I mean? I start to see she's good at what I'm not, and I'm good at what she's not. And so when we go places and we have to like visit, she's like, please don't leave me so I don't have to talk to anybody. And I'm like, got you. She's better behind the scenes, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
So now instead of fighting against that, we've learned to embrace those differences, communicate them. And, that's my absolute best friend today that I don't think I'll ever fully understand because we're just wired different. You know what I mean? But we embrace the differences and our relationships better. And our kids see that. And now they're starting to model that. And so it's really healthy, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that all day because I love family and the family unit. Obviously, Family Care Ministries is what we do. You know what I'm saying? So, but.
Oh, yeah. For sure. I mean, and I'm so thankful. I see that with my son. Him and his wife, they're always goofing around, joking around.
Yeah.
Like hugging each other and telling each other they love so each other. And it's just every time we go visit them, it's just the most beautiful thing. I see that, and it makes me want to be.
I'm just going to say that
a better person to my wife. Like he's teaching me how to be a better husband,
absolutely,
and a better friend. And I always that's what I tell my wife. I'm like, you're my person. You know, you're my person.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. I love it. I love it. Being a thermostat, not a thermometer.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what your son's doing. He's setting the tone. And doesn't matter what's happening around him in culture, you choose to be a certain way. And everybody that gets around those type of people get motivated to come up to that level.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of an example of that. So that's pretty cool, man. I like it.
What are your goals here? As far as, do you want to, are you going to expand this? Do you want to have other do you want to go to other places, open up other?
Yeah. So the vision was from the get-go, this was going to be a start. You know, we were going to have a little office, and the first banquet we had nothing, but I said, we're going to have an office, we're going to have a freedom home, and that's where we're going to begin. That's going to set the tone. And so within a year, we had those things. And then statistically, a congressman and a senator wrote a bill, went to the president, he signed it, and basically it said, this has worked so good, we need to reproduce this across our nation. So the goal was, when I spoke it in 2016, I said, we're going to have influence in the White House, and this is going to become a prototype, right? So we was able to experience that, and I give credit to the Lord for helping us get there, man. So right now we're talking to a couple of different big businesses that are around here, nationally, but their headquarters are here. And so we're looking at possibly having, there's a 72,000 square foot building, 3 stories, up in Ohio, that could possibly be a place for aftercare. So when people graduate something like this, the handoff is the most important overlooked part. So many people do good in the program and go back and fail immediately because they don't have no structure, no good environment. They go from this beautiful structure to have at it, right? No managing money, no help, no advice.
Yeah. Back to what got them here in the first place.
Yeah. And that's, to me, that's foolish. That's insanity. Doing the same thing and expecting there to be a different result. So the goal is like the image, I'm an image guy, I like to see it, was like this would be a little fire, right? And I have a national vision for sure. So like this would be a little fire. And the goal is to get these all over the place, right? To where you have enough little places of hope, and the police have somewhere to bring people, the schools have someone to call if there's someone struggling, the families know this is here, the churches know someone comes to them with a kid that's a drug addict, getting these little fires all across the nation. And that's what that bill said, reproduce what you did here. So to do that, it takes training up a lot of people, you know, because I was on call with the police 24 hours a day. I had to be available at all times, right? I had to speak almost every day a week somewhere, city halls, business all over. And so that first year was probably the busiest year of my life that I moved here, trying to make a name for yourself and trying to prove that you're trustworthy and that this works. But like now, I see it was so worth it. So the goal is that reproduce this. We've been to Washington, PA, talked with those city officials and leaders, and was at Weirton this week, talking to the city manager about having a place in Weirton that would be kind of like this, you know what I mean? And we also want to grow here. We just, the commissioners just talked to us about giving a grant for building. So we have 5 acres here. So we want to build another dorm, a bigger meeting place, chapel, big cafeteria, office space, because we're limited on office space and stuff. So
wow.
Yeah, the goal is just keep reproducing what we've done. All our staff is graduates. Some of them are leadership levels are a little bit different. Some of them are big leaders, and I believe there's leaders of 5, 10, 1,500. So some of our staff can really lead well. And so those are the ones that I'm really like looking at to go, even if it's an hour away, to begin to oversee and reproduce what we did here. So that's the goal.
Nice.
Yeah, seeing lives transform, man.
So you can use your students to kind of branch out and do the same thing.
That's the goal.
Yeah, that's
the goal. And if I have to go somewhere for a time to like get it kicked off and you know, just get it started, absolutely, that's my heart. But yeah, I want to, like, I guess the past couple of years, we've spoken for like 20,000 plus kids in schools. I don't think that's even anywhere remotely close to enough, because those kids need to hear what happens and who they are and what their identity is and how you handle pressure. And even though they're in a home where they see this, they don't have to be that. And so like, I'd like to just really triple that right? Realistically, I wish I was at a different one every day, helping these kids doing preventative work, because I don't want to have to do this. I wish I could close this down. I don't want to say there's people that are so broken that they have to come.
Yeah, and that's I always remember. I think it was my son's graduation I was at, and and I don't want to say what school or who was speaking, but
Sure.
their whole thing was, money's hard to come by. So, and she's telling these kids how hard it's going to be in life.
Yeah.
And they're just graduating. They're already scared to death.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, this is hard. Life's so hard. And money's so hard to get. And like, she's just reinforcing their fear.
Yeah. You wonder why so many take shortcuts to make money.
Yeah.
So I started selling drugs at 13 years old. I'm selling weed. Why? Because you got to have this, and this is what makes you popular. And if you don't have your own vehicle by the time you're this age, and what if my dad's a preacher? What if you can't buy me a vehicle? And then you start to take shortcuts to make it. So that's tough to hear that. And that makes, like I said, that puts a fire in me to go, until every hurting person or not hurting person that just doesn't know has a chance to hear. That's so important to me, for sure.
Yeah, I think even if you're not in a bad situation where you're struggling or hurting, it's still important to hear
absolutely
that, hey, you're doing some good things, man. You're just keep going, don't give up.
Everywhere I've been, I asked the question, even in school, fifth graders, who in here knows somebody, fifth graders, right? This is 10, 11-year-olds. My daughter's in sixth grade now. She's 11. How many of y'all have seen personally on school time someone vaping weed or doing some type of drug, right? Every assembly, let's say an average of 700 kids, every assembly I've ever done, no matter what state it's in, at least 3/4 of those kids raise their hands.
Wow.
So what I say is everybody knows somebody that's either derailing or making bad choices already that need to be able to have hope for them when they hit that point. And that's where we come in, right? Like if even if you're not struggling, I know that you know somebody that it is.
Yeah.
Go tell them, just give this guy 10 minutes. If you don't like what he has to say, he's not offended, right? But he's been through it. He's lived it. He's been on this side for 19 years. Relapse is not part of recovery, right? Or if you think this is cool at this age, so did he. Mm-hmm. Just hear him out. And maybe they won't hear it from me. I'll pull one of my staff down here that maybe they're more of their temperament and let them talk to him. I don't have to be the guy. We have a whole team of people, but come just give them 10 minutes of your time and let them plant that seed of hope, right? And if everybody could have that message and be willing to do that, man, there'd be so many people out there right now that I know would be asking for help and ringing the phone off the hook. But the majority of people I talk to are like, I had no idea this was even here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we've been doing this for 19 years. We had a documentary that was in theaters. I don't know how else to promote it like we have, but just if you're not dealing with that, you have no reason to look this way. So if everybody could have that message of hope. And even if they're not struggling, I'm going to the one that is. I'm just going to tell them, hey, I don't have to have the answer. Just call this number, give them 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Man, I think I really believe that those little fires that I'm talking, that's how it's going to happen. It's not going to be just us. It's going to take a community of people.
Yeah, and I think it goes to, they say like it's like the ripple effect when you drop a pebble in the pond. Yeah. That it affects everything.
Absolutely.
On every shore. Mm-hmm. And it is true. If you can just help one person or get through to one person and then it changes their life and they say, oh man, this, you have to stop doing this. You have to, and that's a hard thing to do because people don't want to hear it.
No, they don't.
But if you can get it through to somebody and it actually gets through,
right.
It's a powerful thing, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's very contagious.
It is.
Hope and faith and
sure is, man.
Any kind of good vibe.
Yeah.
And the bad thing is the bad things are contagious too.
Absolutely.
When somebody wants the kids find out, they party every day after school. They get
Yeah.
in with this group and they're partying, and that's contagious too.
Yeah.
Oh man, come and see how much fun this is.
Yeah. And it becomes your normal. We don't see anything different. Like that's where I was. You do something long enough. I mean, 3 neurocycles of thinking a thought, it becomes your subconsciously thought process. So if I think you can drink every day and it's fine, I didn't get caught this time, so it's good. It's good. It's good. A year later, when you're snorting drugs in school right in the middle of class and you think it's normal. Like I literally didn't think there was anything wrong with what I was doing. Like I thought my dad was just, what are you talking about? Like it really was my normal. So to change that, it really took somebody drastic that was bold enough to look at me in the eye for the first time in 12 years of addiction and say, man, I see you as a champion. And I was like, I wasn't saved. I'm like, you don't blank and know me, right? And he's like, nah, man. He's like, I know that you're not acting like one right now, but that's not the core of you. And I really believe that, man, you're going to get this. You're a champion, man. And it was contagious to hear that, where all the negative was really my normal. But when he started to speak that, it broke that connection that had been there for so many years. And it allowed me to start to try to see things through a different lens. Then after he committed to me for a year, right? After 63 days of him every day, this is who you are. This is what I see. Don't believe that lie. This is who you are. Countering it started to be, I just woke up one day and I was like, man, I'm a new creation. I'm transformed. I'm an overcomer. I ain't a drug addict. I'm not a failure. I failed. I'm not a failure. My failure is not final. My failure is not fatal. I literally remember looking in the mirror, speaking these things to myself that I was hearing from him. And 19 years later, it's literally still what I know to be true and believe.
Yeah.
So it's definitely contagious, man.
That's an awesome thing about failure too, because I don't believe there's a failure.
Yeah.
I believe every, what people call failure it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And if you can take what you learned from that failure and apply it to something to make you better, then that just made you better.
Absolutely.
You didn't fail.
No.
You overcame that and made something better out of it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just found out that wasn't your path.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a failure. Maybe it's just steer you in another path that you're supposed to go in.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a class we do here called Failing Forward. And that's basically what it says. The only way that you should say that you failed is if it happened and you absolutely quit and stay there in that place of defeat. Then that feels like a failure but if you take it as a growth and a learning, I said, you know how many times I failed at benching 500 pounds before I did it? I'm talking 2 years of fail. I get to 495 and that mental block, I would not be able to do it. And then they finally took the weights off and put smaller weights on that added the same. And I did it. And they were like, count the weight. I didn't even know how much it was. I thought it was less than. And I'm like, and then, I said, but if I would have quit the first time I didn't get it because I was embarrassed or whatever, I would have never, ever been able to say I'm part of the 0.001%, whatever it is that has lifted that much. Like my failure helped me to fix my form and work harder and eat different and train different. And eventually I got it. So it wasn't a failure that crippled me. It was I didn't reach that goal in the moment, but I didn't stop. And I got better and stronger because of it. I got wiser.
Yeah.
Fail forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And we're, I think we're constantly learning and trying to improve ourselves.
Yeah.
Hopefully we are. I think that's the whole part of life is, if you think you know everything, you probably don't really know much. I think the greatest thing that ever happened in my life was I realized I don't know anything about anything.
Right. I agree.
There's so many things out there that we don't know anything about.
Yeah. I agree.
But if we just try to be a better person and try to learn as much as we can, I think it's just, I think we'd all be more appreciative of each other. Like, hey, this guy's not, just because they don't have the same belief as you or come from the same part of the country or world as you doesn't mean you're a different person.
True. Yeah. I think when we stay teachable, keeps us humble. I know the minute I stop being teachable, pride rises up. you know,
Yeah.
and I'm a firm believer pride comes before destruction. You know, it doesn't, you don't stay proud very long before something happens to jerk that pride out from under you. So yeah, I've learned kind of the hard way over the years, you know what I mean? Like stay teachable. You know, you can always be learning from somebody, even if they're younger than you or whatever. There's something you can take from them. Be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So what would you say if somebody's listening to this and they're in that position that you were in, or they know someone in their family that's in that position that you were in, where they feel completely hopeless and the family thinks they're completely hopeless?
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
Oh, as long as there's breath in their lungs, there's hope. You know, I've seen people at the worst mentally, doctors telling me you're crazy. They're going to murder somebody if you bring them in there. And I've watched them transform, and they're still living it today. Navy SEALs, pitchers for the Pirates, pastors, teachers, police officers, all the way down to people who lived under bridges that were at the place of hopelessness when I met them. Some of them had a needle filled so much drugs, they knew there's no coming back from this. And they're like, give me one reason why not to do it. I'm a bum. I can't ever come back. I stole from my kids' Christmas presents and went and got money. How do you ever come back from that? You know what I mean? But as long as there's breath in your lungs, there's hope to be different. And I've told so many people, stop. Don't believe what you hear, all these cliche things that relapse, once an addict, always an addict. All that's a lie to keep you stuck and dependent on somebody. Right? You can. There's a process, and it's hard work, and it's easier to take that route. Just be honest. You know, if they say, here, take this pill, you'll still get high, but at least you're not biting off the dope man. Right? It's legal. You go to the doctor and get it. That's the easier route. And that when I was in that position, that sounded better than go be humble and stop doing all these things you're doing and go have a bunch of rules and have someone, you know, you got to study and you got to learn, you got to cry and you got to work through this pain and heal and forgive. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, right? But it's the greatest thing I've ever done, right? Because today I have life, and 19 years later, like the best professionals I ever met said, this can't happen. They said, it's impossible for me to be transformed and different. They said, it's a disease. I don't understand how you walk outside and catch drug addiction, but they said it's a disease. Like, no, it was a choice that I made repeatedly long enough where I became addicted. But if I learned that, I can unlearn that and I can change. And God's made us resilient. So I would say you can change. I mean, you're looking at living proof that someone that shot 30 bags of heroin a day for years, and someone that mixed that with crack cocaine, broke down in vinegar, shooting into my arm, speedballing somebody that has died and been in 7 car wrecks and never supposed to walk again, and all the things that I did. You're looking at somebody that when I asked for help and got it the right way, my life began to transform day 2. I wasn't fixed, but day 2, I had hope. I had peace for the first time in 12 years, man. I had like the hope that my family could be different. I could have a future, like for the first time. And I was dying inside. Like, how come no one's told me that this could happen my whole life? So I would tell them, please don't believe that, and reach out and get help and find hope. There is hope. There is change. I could fill this room right here. If you give me 30 minutes, I could make phone calls and fill this room with families that were individuals when I met them. Some families that were dying. Literally, some of them overdosed 9 times. One guy was in a body bag. They were zipping him up, and all of a sudden it moved, and they pulled him out. He was dead, clinically dead. They said for 9 minutes. You're not even supposed to have brain function after that. And he's as healthy as a horse today, man, and works and is good. And so there's hope, right? And don't feel like you're the only one dealing with what you're dealing with to be ashamed. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm struggling here, and I'm going to be honest about it. And I'm going to get the help that I need. You know, hiding it because of shame and guilt just prolongs it.
Yeah.
Be bold enough to say I'm struggling, and that's wisdom. It's wisdom to do that. It's not weakness.
No, not at all.
Mm-mm.
And, you know, I think that's a big thing too, is everybody thinks they have a special problem.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody's
That's
like,
the lie.
nobody understands. I have this is my problem and nobody else has this problem.
Yeah.
When in reality, there might be 50 other people in your town that have the same problem,
Minimum.
man. Like, just there's somebody that can talk to you about that.
I literally hear that every counseling session. Why did it take so long to ask for help in your marriage or with your kids or with this? Man, I just felt like it was a unique problem. Like, I look at Facebook and I see all these families that look good, and I'm like, that's their highlight reel. You're comparing their highlight reel with your worst. Like, if they would post their worst, you wouldn't feel so bad. You know what I mean? But that's their highlight reel. That's filtered, and the best version of them that they got, they're not going to post nothing less than that. So you can't compare that, man. Be bold. And I guarantee you, one of the biggest things I see almost everyone, even in church, if they come up front for prayer or something, like, it's taking them months and months and months, and they finally say it, and you have a whole bunch of me toos every time. Me too. I dealt with that too. I'm dealing with that. My sister just dealt and they're always like, that weight is off. And I feel like finally, like, somebody understands, and I have so much relief. It's not this hidden thing that I'm trying to fight on my own. We weren't made to carry boulders on our own, right? We were made to help carry one another's burdens, right? So I wasn't made by God's design, even though I'm a man and I want to be tough and I got this lifting record and all these different things. Like, I wasn't made to be able to carry that kind of weight on my own. We need one another, and together, we'll lock arms and we'll have victory. But it takes that. There's no lone soldiers in this thing.
No.
I was the number one guy to say I'm a lone wolf my whole life. And my pap used to tell me, man, there's no lone soldiers in this walk. And I was like, well, you just met one. And then I realized, man, it took people to help me. Usually people are people's biggest problem, other people, but it also took people to help me. Right. So, like, it just takes it. And that fear that you're going to be hurt or someone's going to betray your trust. Anybody I know that's struggling right now with what I did, that's a fear. What if I say it and they tell everybody? Right? Because they've been done dirty so many times and lied on, and their trust has been broken. And
people are going to make fun of you. People are going to talk about you.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand.
Yeah.
There's so many things that
I don't have the money. I don't want to burden my family. So many lies and excuses that people have that I've heard in the last 19 years and that I made for the 12 years before that. But every excuse in the book has to go, right? And you just have to be willing to say, I need help. And then when that person, and I say this often, like, if there's two soldiers in a room and they're in armor, this one's all shiny. I can see my reflection in his armor. I mean, he looks like a beast. I mean, this guy's shined up. Like, and there's a guy next to him and he's got armor and it's dirty and it's rusty and there's holes in it and he's got scars on his face and it's dented. Like, which one am I going to listen to? I'm listening to this beat up guy. Like, you've actually been in the battle.
He's been through the ringer.
And you have proof and you're still a little bit dirty, right? I can still see it, but you're here. And so the fact that you're here means you learned something and you knew what it took to get through it. Talk to me. And so in that situation, I'm not downing anybody else that's trying to help, right? But in my scenario, it absolutely took getting around somebody that I could relate to, that understood my lingo and my language and what I was dealing with. And I didn't have to explain what this was. When I said it, they were like, yeah, man, I understand what that feels like. I can't tell you how much that motivated me to continue to open up, be honest, and change. So you got to get around somebody that's not going to tell you what they read in a book, that you're always going to be an addict. Get around somebody that's been an addict, knows what it feels like and how hard it is to stop and the shame that comes with it, but now is confident and bold and healed and changed. Run to them and say, man, can you help me? And I promise you, anyone I've ever met that's genuinely been brought out of that prison of addiction, that bondage of addiction, that's really living transformed, man, they're going to help you. Or they're going to know where to get you. They're going to encourage you enough in the moment. They're going to, most people that bring people here, people that have been through it and lived it themselves. And they're like, man, I met this person, or somebody knows me and knows what I went through, and they brought this person to me, and bring them. And I tell every graduate here, like, this is your center as much as it is mine. If you have somebody that needs help, you don't have to call me. you bring them, and you know they have a bed.
Wow.
You're field reps, man. If you're a bartender, if you're a server at a restaurant and you're serving and someone at that table is struggling, and man, bring them. Call me. I'll come get them. I'll send staff to get them. Like, you guys are field rep. You know what it's like, and you know what you needed in that moment of crisis. Don't wait. We don't make an appointment on Tuesday for someone that calls on Friday night. Like, no, we're coming right now. We're going to help you in this moment of crisis.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, that's because you don't want to give that person a chance to get any lower than they already are.
No.
You know, and if, man, you know, if something would happen, you know, I kind of had this happen to me. You know, I had a friend that I knew he was doing some drugs, but I didn't know to what extent, you know,
Right.
and I'd kind of say some things once in a while, and he ended up dying in the middle of the night, and, you know, and they called it a heart attack. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but I never knew, you know, man, if I would have tried harder,
right.
would that have happened? Was it really a heart attack? You know,
Right.
and that lives with me. This guy was, you know, a really good friend, and that haunts me. So I think it's just so important if you have any idea whatsoever that somebody's struggling with anything, to, even if they get mad at you, whatever, man.
That's what I was just going to say. Even if they get mad and throw a fit, I mean, their first response is probably going to be embarrassment, and it's not going to come out with, oh, I'm embarrassed. They're probably going to throw a fit or get angry, like, you don't know me, but weather the storm. They don't know how to manage their emotions right now because they've affected their brain through addiction. Weather it. Don't get offended. Just love them. Listen to them. Don't try to. You're not going to win an argument with somebody in that position. You're not going to. You can fight for 10 hours and you could say this carpet's blue. And if they're saying it's green, they're not going to admit that it's blue. You're not going to win an argument. Just love them. They need love. They need love. They need to know that you still love them at their worst. That you're not going to enable them, but you love them, right? Many families have said, but I love my kid. I can't put him out of the house. I'm like, my mom and dad loved me very much, but there was a day where he said, there's rules here, son, and you refuse to follow them. We're not going to let you die in our house, so you can't come here. Mm-hmm. And they put me out of their house. And I hated him in the moment, but I've honestly shared this all up and down the East Coast to people and places. It literally is what started the process of me becoming broken. Because if I had a nice, beautiful home to go to and good leftovers when I snuck home at 3 a.m. or 3 days after this binge, and I could eat and sleep and be left alone and I didn't have no chaos, what reason do I have to change?
Right.
If I can go back that anytime I want.
You have a safe place.
But when I didn't have that and I tried them and I pressed them, we're not giving you $1. And I would show up at my mom's. I'm thinking my mom, I'm her son. Moms want their sons to eat. And I'd go, Mom, I'm hungry. I just need $1. I figured if I can get $1 out of her, I have some form of control. She's not done. She's not going to stick to her word. I remember the day where she was like, no. And I walked out of that accounting building, dude. And it was like the longest 30 feet to my car. Like, she's going to come. She's going to change her mind. She's seeing me walking. I'm her son. I'm her baby. She didn't come. And I got in that car and I drove away and I had nowhere to go. I had no money. And I had to go live in this dope house, man, with a bunch of people that brought up in there. They're used to that. This is not my normal. I was like, what am I doing? And after like a year of that, that's when I got arrested that final time. I was like, this isn't what I want, man. And then changed it. But yeah, man, just weather it. Know that they just need love. And sometimes that's tough love. Sometimes that's, I'm not going to let you continue to do what you're doing without consequence. I'm going to hold you to it. It actually is one of the things that I believe really got me to rock bottom. Because I was in them car wrecks, never supposed to walk. I mean, I went through all that, never once thought about changing or that I could change. Literally, it was when my family said, you can't come in. They stuck to their guns. That's what started to get me thinking, this ain't the life I want. Never before that I think that. Never once.
Yeah, I think that enabling, you know, if you just keep, well, I'll give them this $40.
Yeah.
You know, and then they'll be okay. You think you're helping them, but it's
loving them to death.
Yeah.
Literally to death. I talked to the richest man in West Virginia. I won't say his name, but at the time he was. I don't know if he still is now, but he won the lottery. It was a ridiculous amount of money. He had a granddaughter, or yeah, it was his granddaughter. That was a drug addict. And so he'd be like, I love her and she's sick and she's struggling and I have it. And I'm like, bro, you're going to give her the last $100, $200 that she's going to die from. And then you're going to feel horrible for the rest of your life. I know that you love her, but that's not love. That's enabling. And he just couldn't, he's crying. He was struggling with it. He's like, he gave her $200 a day, every day.
Oh, wow.
And she overdosed and died. And he became one of the most broken, sad men that I've ever met in my life. You know what I mean? So many families that have such a hard time. That's why when they come here, it gives that family a break to go get counseling themselves and heal and recover from all the constant like fear, and the phone rings. Is that going to be the phone call that they're dead? Like, it affects the family a lot of times more than emotionally, more than the actual addict. Because the addict's getting high and not thinking about it. The family's sound-minded and dealing with the chaos of it. My mom and dad had to get serious counseling. Like, I counsel people here every week. That's the family, children of those that are here, and the husbands and the wives and the parents that are broken, way more broken than the person that's here, it seemed at first.
Wow. Because they didn't know what to do.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
you don't know what to do. Yeah. I mean, I have 5 kids, and my kids are doing things now where I'm like, I don't really know the best way to handle this. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not anything crazy with drugs or nothing, but just, I mean, I don't know what I would, like, what if it would have been like I was? And I found that out, like, what would I do? Because the love I have for my kids, it'd be almost impossible for me to fathom. Get out of my house.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they going to go? What if they die out there? You know what I mean? But what if they die in here? You know what I'm saying? And so it's a really hard thing, but to have a group of people that walk with the families through this, in my opinion, it just can't put a value on it. And that's what we get to do with a lot of the families that are here. Walk with them and counsel with them and come beside them and let them call and freak out and ask questions and help give them direction on how to handle this. And they do it, even though it's hard. They know they have the support of a whole group of people here. And then we're able to see a lot more people successful because of that. Mm. Yeah, man.
What would you say that you need to keep doing what you're doing? Or is it something where you just have your faith in God to get you that?
Yeah. I mean, I trust that God's going to do exactly what we need, but also know that God uses people. Like when I moved here, I felt like the Lord put on my heart to go read Nehemiah. So I read Nehemiah. He had it made in the shade. He was the cupbearer. He was chilling in the castle, ate all the good food. I mean, the guy had it made. And I think about me. I was at that 30-acre campus and beautiful. And why would I leave that? It was comfortable. But he heard about his hometown, and people were in captivity and they were broken and the walls were broke down. Everything was burned and destroyed. And it says he fell on his face. He was anguished. He was broken over. He cried. He fasted. He prayed. And that burden led him to do something, you know? And so when I was moving here, I was thinking like, what if nobody listens? What if nobody gets on board? How am I going to do this by myself? A vision that don't include people, is it a vision that can be accomplished, right? Like God uses people. And so when I moved here, that was always on my heart. And that story, it says God gave him people that had a mind to work. And God gave him everything that he needed to rebuild it before he ever even knew that it was provided. And so it takes resources. It takes finances. It takes all the practical things that you see in a home, in a family, times 30 every day. You know what I mean? And just to grow, I mean, it's a lot, you know what I mean? So absolutely, I trust that God's going to put those people in our path that says, you know, I've been blessed and I want to give to this. I want to see this become a reality. And that's how we've done it up to this point. Right? I never had the money to buy this building or our downtown dorm or anything like that. It was all basically donated to us 100%. So I haven't had to raise the fund that I thought I needed, $1 million to do this. And I didn't need it was donated. So I never had to actually have the physical money, right? It was blessed. And so, but I think one of the biggest things we need is what I'm saying, those field reps, those people that hear the message of hope and they're willing to say, I know somebody that's hurting. Let me go share it, because we're just one man and I can only go to so many people at one time. And my staff is largely focused on here because once those broken people get here, that's a 24-hour day job, all attention all day, and training and discipline and counseling and work skills. And I mean, there's literally people my wife's had to show them how to wash their hair properly. Some of these ladies, and they have kids.
Wow.
I mean, there's someone here that we put in the kitchen to help them learn how to cook, and they didn't know how to make rice, instant rice, a little bit of water, throw in the microwave or boil it. I had no idea. So like you're literally starting over with most of the ones here. So to have people out there that can point people here is one of the biggest things we need. Hey, I heard a message of hope. I know where you can call. So the resources to do what we do doesn't mean just finances. I mean, you have to have that to do anything, but like
you need people.
We need people. We need people that say, man, that was powerful. I hear that. I believe that man's different. And I believe that other people can be different too, and spread the word. Yeah. Everything I've done to this point has been word of mouth.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man. I mean, like pulling in here, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Like, anybody could live here and be happy.
Yeah.
You have a pond out back, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So that has to help too with the people that are coming here to get help. They're living in a beautiful place with beautiful people.
Yeah.
And so
I won't let that standard down. I had a lot of people trash me for your standards are too high and opened the building already when we were getting prepared. I said, I want these people to know when they move in here, I am giving them the absolute best that I can. It might not be the best. Finances are, again, faith-based. Not like I'm charging and know what I can. I said, but this place is going to be spotless, and this place is open to tours 24 hours. If someone shows up and says, I want a tour, we give them one right now. You don't say, come back Tuesday. And I do that because it's kept this way all the time, because we want these students to know, I believe in you and you are worth my best, the best that I can do. You're worth that. And if I wouldn't live in it myself with my family, I would never expect you to. I've been to a lot of different rehabs that like couches are broken down. They got cardboard in windows with box fans, duct tape in there. And I'm like, I lived in dope houses cleaner than this. You know what I mean? And and they were charging them like it was close to $15,000 a month every month, and I'm like, you're making all that money and can't even like give them floors that don't have holes in it. You know what I mean? Or a porch that's painted, or anything like that. Just something showing that they matter. So that was really important to me. Make sure this is done at a standard of excellence, not perfection, but excellence, the best we can with what we have. So I'm glad that you've seen that. I mean, that's what I want people to think when they come in here. Like, hey, I could really heal here. This is somewhere that I could take pride in being.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And everything's, everything's clean, everything's organized. It looks like a home.
Yeah.
They're like, a family home.
Yeah.
So
that was the goal, man.
Yeah. You hit it. You hit it.
I said many times, I do not want this to look like a hospital room, a prison cell, a rehab. I want this to look like a place where it's homey, where they can heal. I call it boot camp at grandma's house, man. There's lots of rules and structure, that has to be. There's a schedule. They got to stick to it. You know what I mean? But no one's in your face like a drill sergeant. It's loving. And the best way I know how to do it is like put your arm around them, put your hand on their forearm, and walking with them through. Hey, walk with me. Let me show you. So, yeah, works, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Josh, man, I don't know of any other person I've ever talked to that's more of a hero than you. Quite
Appreciate
honestly,
that, man.
I mean, you've
Appreciate it, man. Yeah.
There's been a few times we're talking here, and I'm like holding back tears with these stories, and it's incredible. I mean, I think everybody should know about this and continue helping people, man, because it's beautiful. I mean,
thank you.
I haven't witnessed many other things this beautiful and powerful. So
send everybody man. Tell them to come take a tour, meet everybody, you know what I'm saying, and just let them know that there's hope.
Yeah,
There's a place
I
of healing.
definitely will. We're going to get this out. We're going to get out on a big scale. So
Nice, man.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
I thank
Appreciate
you.
your time,
I
man.
appreciate what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
It's again, in these towns, people think there's no hope.
Yeah.
You know, they think, man, I was born here, and I wish I was, in this big city where there's plenty of people and plenty of help.
Right.
And we have it right here.
Yeah.
They don't have to go anywhere. They have it.
We can make the difference that transforms this community. We really can.
Yeah.
The people are here. That's what matters. We make the difference. And if we do it together, I really genuinely believe, man, I have proof from that bill that was signed by the president saying this is a prototype. This is what we could do across this nation to bring hope and transformation. So we did it. You know, we and we're going to continue to do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's hope.
I hope you spread all over the place.
Me too, man.
I mean, I hope I hope there's no limit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think there is.
No.
From the looks of it, from what you came from and what you're doing and what you've accomplished, I don't think there's a ceiling.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I have no doubt, man. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll let you get about your day. I'm
Nice,
sure you could.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I appreciate you, dude. That was awesome, man.
No doubt. No doubt.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you.